Hello guys and welcome back. So when you're done with the rendering, you should be able to go ahead and save it. I don't know why I lost my channels. For some reason, if you go to the beauty here and click, you see other channels. That means it's all fine. And just go for file and save multi-layer XR. I don't know why I lost it, but I saved it earlier, so I still have that original image that has the channels. Okay. Anyway, so with that image saved, it's going to be an XR format, of course. So just save it somewhere by clicking again this button, and I'm going to go to move on to the next program, which will be Natron. Okay. The reason we're using Natron is because it's free, it's open source, everyone can use it. The industry standard is Nuke, which we don't have. It's way too expensive to get for most of the department we have. Most of the it cost half of our budget last time. It's not worth it. Okay, so anyway, so I'm gonna go for go to the node graph and hit R button to read my render image, which is actually this one. Okay, and I can hit one button to preview it, and you can see that's how my render looks like. Okay, so just to be able to see things better, I'm gonna go grab the node graph and just move it down here so that I'm having the node here, and then I don't need this anymore, so let me close that and close that and close that. So I have this viewer here. Okay, middle mouse button to move around, and the wheel is of course how you zoom in and out. Okay, and here the same thing goes for the node graph. And that's the viewer, which is basically this one. You can see viewer one here. You can also see viewer one here. And the properties are the properties of the nodes you're selecting. Okay, so you double click on any node and you go to the settings of that node. I guess there's no setting for the viewer, so you don't have anything here. Okay, so this program is almost identical to Nuke. So if you're a student and you cannot get Nuke, it's probably better to learn this one first, and when you get to the industry and when you have access to Nuke, it feels exactly like this guy. So yeah, so you're not losing a lot of things at all. The compositing concept are going to be the same. Okay, so one thing I want to do here is I'm going to actually separate those different channels I got from Maya. So I'm going to use this shuffle node and connect A to the input of read one, and grab the shuffle and hit one button to connect it to the viewport. You can see, well, it's nothing. The reason why it's nothing is because it's using the B channels RGBA as the output. So that's not what I want. So I'm gonna go to here and click on that little drop down here. I'm gonna choose the A Diffuse Direct, and it's able to recognize the other channels for it, and we got this direct rendering result. Okay, direct lighting rendering result. Okay, so I'm gonna of course rename it to Diffuse Direct. Okay, right, let me drag it over here. All right, so I'm gonna go create another shuffle and connect that to the render one more time. Okay, and then this time I'm gonna change it to Diffuse Indirect. We grab this shuffle and hit one button to view that. Oh, you know what? We're still seeing this one actually. So Diffuse Direct will be the one here. Yeah. So this one, let's double click and change it to Diffuse Indirect. You have to double click to switch to this node's setting. I have number one here. That means I'm only seeing one settings for one of the nodes. If that's two, I can double click here to turn this on, and you can see the other one is down there. I can double click to put this one on top, but that's a little bit confusing. Sometimes I just left two here, but for this particular setup here, we can just go one because we don't see the other one anyways. So double click here to open the setting for this one. I'm going to change this guy to Diffuse Indirect. Okay. I keep on doing that, Control C, Control V, that's another way we can do this. And this one will be specular. Don't forget to double click to open this one's setting, specular direct. And I'm gonna change it to specular direct. Okay, Control C, Control V, and that one goes to also the read, and this will be the direct specular indirect. Okay, also again double click to swap to that. And indirect. Okay, And then Control C, Control V one more time. We got the transmission here. Connect that to here. Yeah, that's our glasses. Some of the basically just name it glasses. Okay. And then Control C, Control V. And that goes to the read one more time. And this is gonna be our let's see, subsurface scattering. Let's take a look at that. That's gonna be these guys. This guy SSS. Okay. So that's going to be our nodes. All right. So I'm going to go, one thing you can do is you can hold down control and drag in the middle of the line to create a reroute node. That's going to make things looks a bit more cleaner, I guess. You could even do this. You can grab all these guys and connect them to the reroute. Okay, and you can just say, okay, that goes to there and that goes to there and keep on going. You can see the merit of having reroute node. And I don't know why substance designer doesn't do it. It must be a super simple thing to set up. You can see this is really clean now. You can see it. Basically everything is coming from this guy, of course, and it got passed along to all these, right? Okay, let me do another node, which is merge, and we're gonna merge all these guys together. So connect that to A, that to B, and we have A2 to A2 to there, A3, A4, and A5. Okay, and then drag that over. And you can see we have the two. That's going to be the second input. You can actually connect this one, the one to the merge, and we're seeing the merge result. And by the way, we need to actually change it to plus to add everything back. Okay, now you can go drag this over and you can connect the two to the original one. Okay, so now we can go to the viewport. We can hit one button to take a look at the merge result. You can see that's what we're viewing here. And we can hit two buttons, and then that's going to give us the read. So 1, 2, 1, 2, we can swap those two to take a look at the different. Actually, there's a little different here. I'm not sure why. Unless I missed some channel I should include. But, you know, that's still minor. I don't think that matters to me. Maybe I'm missing one channel. Let's see. I'm not sure why. Let's just use what we have now. I don't really care that one gets a little darker, but that's actually the only difference. Anyway, so I'm gonna go drag that over. So I don't need that. 2 input. Now let's take a look at some of the things we can tweak, of course. Now one of the things I don't like is the glasses are like exposed a lot, and that's gonna be in the glass channel, right? So what I can do is I can grab this glass channel and hit one button to view it. Now I can select it one more time and hit G button to create a grid node. And again, what's really amazing about this program is that it's almost like a duplication of Nuke. So the grid node is identical to Nuke. Okay, so I don't know how they can get away with this. It's basically copying other people's tools. Anyway, I'm gonna go, maybe there's, because this is all open source, I guess it doesn't matter, because they're not really selling it. Anyway, so let me create a bunch of reroute node just to clean up the scene. Anyway, so here I'm gonna go grab the grid and lower down the multiply so that it's making it darker basically. See that? So now if I go back to the merge and hit one button to view it, you can see now the glasses are getting darker. Now I did that with very minimal effort. I just need to separate the channels and do this. Now imagine tweaking that in like in the render. It's I think, you know, this is such a simple thing. I guess it should be easy. You can just go to maybe the material and do some settings, but still the material settings would make it non-realistic because of the you know, you lower down the transmission, and it's still gonna have that super strong exposure more or less. So doing it here will give you more control. And another really cool thing here is that you tweak it here and you got instant feedback, right? That's something you cannot get from the renderer. You just have a lot of weightings to do. Okay, and that's why I do propose that we do many of the things in compositing if it's possible and easier to do. Okay, actually this A and B thing is basically what this guy does. You can drag that to swap between A and B, but I can turn that off. I can turn that off, so I'm not seeing that weird thing here in the middle. Okay, Anyway, so that's one thing we can do. And then let's see what else. So we have this image here, and let me do another shuffle because I do believe I have another one inside of it. So let me connect that back. Yeah, actually I need to put it in there, yeah. So I kind of wanted to shuffle out one more thing here, which is the AO. Okay, let's take a look at that. So this is the ambient occlusion. It's going to be really helpful for me because I can use that to help me to tweak the graphic. So oftentimes you want to kind of like use AO to enhance the smaller touching shadow. And that part is red because unfortunately I was not paying enough attention, so when I was modeling it, there's a gap here actually. So anyway, I'm going to do a grade node after merge, and the mask goes to shuffle. Let me double click on the shuffle and call it AO. Okay, and then for the grade here, I'm gonna hit one button to take a look at the result. You can see we're not grading anything, but now I can use the grade to tweak stuff. And because we're using AO as the mask, and don't forget to go to the mask section and use the colors R channel, which is the R channel. We don't have anything in alpha channel for the AO actually, so we use the R channel as the alpha and go to the grade. Okay, so now if I go to the grid and say, okay, I wanted to have the AO area to be darker, I can then gamma it down. You can see, oh, actually I'm doing the offset. So we can go invert the mask, of course. Now what I do is when I drag it down, I'm basically using the AO as mask to only gamma down the area that the AO covers. Okay, so that's basically sort of like multiplying AO on top, but gamma does something better. Multiplication will destroy some things when it's completely black, but gammaing it down will keep that information there. It's just gonna get it darker. So there is a difference between just use AO to multiply compared to gammaing it down. Okay, we can even say, okay, I want the dark area to be a little bit bluish. Okay, we could do that. We can go create this color lookup node. Basically, that's the equivalent of Photoshop curve. So I'm gonna put the mask here, so I could actually create a redraw node down here, and I can grab this guy and connect the mask to that redraws, and then go down here. Okay, so this one, I'm gonna go to the red channel and just drag it down. Okay, and the green channel and drag it down also a little bit. Okay. And here for the color lookup, of course, I need to go down here and tell the masking part I wanted to use the R channel. Okay, and I'm going to invert the mask. Okay, so that way we're only making the AO part to be a little bit more bluish, basically. Okay, so we can even go to the blue color and just drag it up. I'm not seeing a lot of change, but you can feel like that area, yeah, you can feel a lot of bluish color happening here. Now that's probably too much. That's too much. I think it's just calculating actually, so no worries. Just go back here, let it go calculate. That's when it's actually not going to be as good as Nuke. Nuke should do this like immediately. But you can see what we're able to do here. Right? We're making the dark area a little bit more bluish. Now that's an artistic choice. It's not going to be realistic. I think it's still too much, so I'm going to go here to the mix part. That's going to be the global blend. So if you lower that down, that's basically making it not as strong, right? It's basically minimizing or multiplying its effort to something lower. Okay. All right, I hope that calculates soon enough. It's calculation is actually really slow on this part. Okay. So yeah, it's now you can see the result. Okay, we're having a little bit bluish on the darker area. Okay, so that's the usage of AO. You can use AO to do a lot of things in whatever way you want, because that's basically going to give you the information of the crevices and smaller scene areas, and you can do whatever you want with that information. Okay, so that's the AO, and then we can also grab another very important pass, which is, let me create another shuffle, and the thing we did earlier, which is the in the settings before, in the AOV settings we have the Z, right? That's the only one we haven't used yet, so let's grab the Z here. Okay, I'm gonna call this one depth map. Okay, this depth map gives you the information of the depths. Let me grab that and hit one button. You can see, well, it's nothing. But if you hover the cursor here on any of the areas, you can see the numbers down there. You can see that's really big numbers, and then we got smaller numbers. Okay, so it's doing the job. So what I want to do is move the cursor to where the back wall is. You can see that's somewhere around 1300. So I'm gonna go create a grid node, and in the black point, I'm gonna change the number to 1300. And it's gonna remap the image so that the darkest point is 1300, and it's gonna gradually blend out the white color to 1, so it's gonna do this. Okay. So when the value is 1, it's totally white. When the value is 1300, it's black. It's gonna restretch all the data internally to be in this range. Okay. All right. And for the white point, we can also tweak it. So we can go back to the original one and hit 1, and we can move the cursor to where that's closest. I think maybe that should be this part. So I need to go there actually. So let me put my cursor there. See, the number is 500. So I can go to the grid and tell the white point to be 500, and then we got this full spectrum from white to black. Okay, so this is gonna be the the depth map. We can use it to do many things, like for example, depth of field. Okay, so I'm gonna do a blur node here. In Nuke, there's a more advanced way. You can use the raw depth data to use the defocus node to do the trick, and that's going to be very professional. The result is much better than what we can do here, but we don't have a depth thing. But this one is weird. I'm not sure how to use it, so I'm going to use this one. Okay, but you can experiment on that node I was showing you, the GMIC blur depth of field. I just don't know how to use it. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the source and connect that to the original image, and the mask goes to let's see, the grade. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna drag the mask and put it in there, and let's hit one button and take a look. And again, for the masking in the blur, by double clicking on it, I'm gonna change the mask to color R. Okay, now I can go to the blurring here and just blur it. You can see we're blurring the foreground only. Now that's not what I want. So I need to go to the blur and tell it to invert the mask. Now you can see we're blurring the background. Now, of course, I don't need this much of a depth of field, so I'm gonna try to lower that down so that we're just having a little bit blurry background. You can see that just gives us that much more realism by doing this depth of field. Another result, right? And you can see now we have the foreground in focus and the background out focus, and they're all done in compositing, and we don't have to like tweak a lot of camera settings in the renderer to do this. And then this is really clean also, right? It's super easy to do, and it's super easy to control. Here you can see on this edge we have that little jaggedy result because of course the mask here just changes, like there's no anti-aliasing for this either. So we can grab this grade and create a blur here first. So we're blurring the mask, okay? So that way the depth map has this transition here, and that way when we go to the blur here, and that area will feel a little bit better, if not that much better. Okay, but that should be fine for this render, right? Because we're not gonna look that close. This is 1080p render, and we're already zooming in like that. That's how big it is actually. So yeah, should be fine. We can try to blur this a bit more, so that part when it's blurring, it may do better. Okay, so that's the image we're used to blurring things, and that's the result we're getting. All right, cool. So I think I'm making the lookup to do too much of the blue thing here. So let me try to lower down the mix to make it even lesser, and back to the blur. All right. So not only we can use this depth map to do like just the let's say just the depth of field, we can use it to do like mimic like a foggy result, because this one, if you look at it, is basically, if we do a invert, of course, here and put that in the middle. Okay, you can see this is basically like a fog, right? So if I do that, and then I can do maybe use that to, let's say, give it some color. So I can do color lookup. Okay, and then I can go to the blue part and just drag it down so that it's more like a dusty kind of like result. I can even then move further with a hue. Let's see if we can do the hue correct. No, that's hue. It doesn't have hue shift. That's actually different from nuke. I'm just going to composite here. So a little bit lesser blue, a little bit lesser green. So this is more like a dusty kind of like an environment. And we do another merge node. Okay, we're merging this one with that, and let's hit one button and take a look. Okay, so for now the merge is doing over, which is weird. I don't expect to see this result, but we can go to the operation and change it to plus. So that way we're adding this guy on top, adding this guy, right? Our fog on top. Okay, and it's apparently too strong, so I'm gonna try to lower down the mix so that it's, oh, actually that goes to this one. So I'm gonna grab this guy and Shift X to swap those two inputs. Okay, now I can use this slider now the mix slider of the merge to basically determine how much fog I want to have in the environment. Okay, that's gonna make the environment feels like it's having some fog happening inside of it. Okay, right? Okay, and I can even go create another color lookup here in the middle, and I can remap it. So here I can say, okay, I want the go to the master here. I'm gonna drag this guy down. Actually, I'm gonna try to do this. I'm gonna double click to add a point here and drag that down. So that way we're isolating the fog to be only on the background. Okay, because basically what it does is basically making the front more darker, right? So that I can make sure that the front area is not having a lot of fog. Okay, take a look at that. Okay, you can see now we only have the fog on the background, which is also much better than before, right? So you can see how much more flexibility we can do with this. You can have fog in Arnold. You can just create atmospheric fog in the environment, but think about the control you have here, right? It's gonna be much better in my opinion. So I'm gonna do another blur here to blur my fog so that we can have some less like blurry result. And maybe the color lookup is doing too much, so I'm gonna go down here and lower down the mix so I can bring some of the fog back to the front. Alright, cool. You can see a lot of tweaking we can do here just to make things look a bit more interesting. Okay, that's not even a lot of nodes actually. Consider the things you do, crazy things you do with Substance Designer. This is nothing, right? Anyway, so you can comment stuff. Of course, you can grab these guys and say backdrop, and then you can say this is gonna be the part that we do channel or AOVs. Okay, and then yeah, you can see this says it's AOVs. We can change the size to 20, so we have this big letter here called AOVs, and those are the color grading, AO adjustment, or whatever you want to call it, and those are Z depths. So depth of field here for this lane, and this lane will be fog effect. You know, you can keep on adding notes also to help you remember what's going on. I'm not going to elaborate all the time to do all these. One thing I don't quite like is a bit of a noise happening here. Okay, so there is a denoise node. Okay, let's save the file actually. File, save project. I'm going to save it and call this guy compositing and save it. Okay, and then I'm going to do like a denoise, and this one is a little bit dangerous. I don't know why it's so unstable, but when you're using this denoise, you cannot zoom in too much. When there is less than 50% of the image that's showing in this viewport, it's gonna crash. Okay, so you don't zoom in too much. So I'm gonna try to drag this square to make it smaller. I'm gonna put it maybe in the foreground on the ceiling. That's the part I see in the noise, or there maybe. because that's the actual noisy part. I'm not even bothering by the ceiling. I think it's fun, but I don't like the noise happening on that part. I'm not sure why that is even happening. So I'm gonna grab that, okay? And then I'm gonna ask the noise to analyze the noise level. It's gonna do that analyzation, and it's gonna try to denoise. And that's doing too much, so I'm gonna try to lower that down, okay? But as you can see, when I lower it down, it's doing better, right? We're getting rid of the noise, but that's also flattening stuff quite a lot. So that's without it. Some denoise, because it's blurring things. So let's take a look at what we can do here. Okay, so we can grab our image here. We can do another shuffle. Actually, I can do that maybe over here. Another shuffle node, and connect the A to there. Holding on Control and drag it over here. And this shuffle, we have one more channel actually we didn't use, which is the ID channel. Okay, let's see if we can use that to help us. Let me double click here and change it to ID. Okay, and hit one button to take a look. You can see that's the ID part. And here we have the ID as blue here for this guy. We may not be able to differentiate from the others, but we could do something here real quick. Because I can also denoise that and that. I don't mind making them a little bit more blurry. So I'm going to try to create a key here, okay, to key it, okay. And then for the keyer, I'm going to go to the key color and click on that little, on the little color there, and hold it on Control and click on that part, okay. And change the key mode to color, of course. Do that again, okay. And then I can hit the A button. You can see the alpha channel becomes something weird, and you can see this one becomes totally black, while the others does not. Okay, so that means I'm able to isolate this part if I wanted to do that. So what I can do is I can go grab the keyer, and then I can do like a grade node after this. And also, let me do this. I'm going to do another shuffle just to get rid of the confusion. For the shuffle, I'm going to use the alpha channel of the A as the R channel, alpha channel of the A as the G channel, alpha channel of the A as the A channel. Okay, so that way in the shuffle node, I can hit A to go back. A is how you go to the alpha channel. Actually, I'm sorry, I didn't mention that. So A button is how you toggle alpha or the RGB. Now, because of the shuffle node, it's outputting the A inputs, which is this one, right? The A inputs alpha channel as all the channels we're using here. So we're basically getting all the color information in all the channels that we need. They're all the same and they're looking like this. Now in the grade here, what I can do now is I can go grab the black point and then Control and click on it. That's good. And go to the white point. I'm gonna just try to drag it down until it's like playing histogram scan. So I'm trying to drag it over so that I'm having very little number here to eliminate all the things I don't want. So that part is still there. I'm not sure why. This may be too strong. So 0, 0, 1. Yeah, that get rid of it. Okay, so that way I have a mask basically to give me that, just that. Okay, so I can then do like an invert to invert it. Okay, and because of that, I have a mask that I can use to just isolate that area. And when I'm doing denoising, and I don't even think I need denoise this time, so I'm gonna go create a blur node, because I know we need to get that noise away. So a blur node should be just fine with the mask. Goes to, because I don't think I have a lot of noise happening in other areas. So this one's mask just goes to there. Okay, let's take a look at that. So now in the blur, I'm gonna say, okay, use the mask color R, right? And then we can go ahead and blur it. Oh, you know what? That's not working yet because we're using the grade, right? It does the job, but if you have the cursor here, you can see the numbers are negative, like 17. So we have to do one more thing, which is clamp. No problem, just clamp the numbers so that we got minimum 0 and maximum 1. Yeah, that should be all we need. Back here to the blur. Now what you can see here is that I'm already blurring things, right? I'm only blurring that. Okay, you can see that immediately fixed my noisy problem over there. I'm not losing any detail anywhere, and I can use just a really bad render and get a really smooth result. Okay, and you know, for the parts that I do have some noise, I don't really need to fix them because, you know, a little bit noise is okay because even the footage you shoot does have noise. But you can see that's the noisy result we have in the beginning. You can see how much noise we have. But after all the compositing, all the depth of field, we end up with something that looks kind of like okay. Okay, so maybe we just do one more denoise here, right? Just to clean up some of the things, like on the ceiling this time. Let me save the file, go for File, Save, Project. And we can just use that denoise to get rid of some of the noise to eventually have one more denoise. We could even go back to the different channels because you can take a look at the direct channel. You can see it's fun, and the indirect is the one that has a lot of noise. Specular is fun, indirect specular. Actually, that's the direct specular. That's the indirect specular. You can see it's the noisy part. So, well, you can actually denoise those things separately. And you can get even better control so that you don't denoise the parts you don't really need to denoise. But for the simplicity here, I'm just going to denoise everything. Okay, so yeah, so let's zoom in just a little bit and then analyze the noise level. Okay, it's going to do the denoise. I'm going to tell it to not doing that much, so lower that denoise amount down. Okay, now this should be good enough. All right. So we have done a lot of things, and now those things can help to bring this final render into the next level of realism. And a lot of things can be done here instead of in the render process. So I think the fog is too strong. Let me lower that down even more. Okay, just need a little bit fog. Okay, so just one more thing we can do, like other people do here. If your camera is not that perfect, especially for some old school camera, you have a lot of things called chromatic abbreviation. That's when the red color get distorted differently. So what we have to do is grab this denoise and hit D button to disable it, or we bypass it because the denoise will crash when you zoom in too close. So we need to move it away. We add this guy back later on. So I'm gonna create another shuffle node, and this time I'm gonna shuffle out this blur here, and I'm gonna shuffle out the R channel for actually everything. Okay, actually for the G and B I'm gonna go 0. That's right. So RGB, I'm only gonna use R. G and B is gonna be 0. Take a look at that. You can see that's basically the red channel. So I'm gonna name this guy R as R channel. Okay, and Control D to, or Control C, Control V, copy paste. And this one will be named to B and or G, right? And we go here and change G to the color G, and R will be 0. Control C, Control V, and then we got the blue channel, which is the B channel here. So this one is 0, and B channel is back to B, and this is going to be the B. Okay. Whoops. Make that mistake again. So this is actually G and 0. I have to double click here and change that back to B and 0 here, and name this guy B. This guy B, and this should be G. Okay, so RGB. Let's take a look at that. RGB, and then we do a merge to merge them together, holding down M and click to do that. So this is A, and this is B, and this is A2. And the merge will use plus, and we got the final result again. But then here we can distort the R channel. So we can do like, I believe we have distortion, lens distortion here. Okay, so we can use lens distortion to distort the R channel to mimic that the R channel is distorted differently. Okay, so we can drag that K1 node. Okay, you can see it's already distorting the edge. So I just need a little bit of that to distort it. Okay, so you can feel like that little color scattering happening. So we have the R channel slightly shifting away from the edge. right? That's such a minimal thing, especially for some really good modern camera. You don't really see that anyways. So that's something I kind of wanted to drop eventually, because this is an artifact, right? That's not supposed to be happening. So I'm gonna go to the B channel. I'm gonna drag it to the other direction. Okay, the blue channel is scattered differently on the other way, so maybe that's too much. 0.001. Okay, all right, just very subtle to add that. Okay, and then now we got this final result of, not sure what that is. Huh, why did I get that? I'm not sure why. Let's see, maybe it's just not calculating properly. Yeah, anyway, so we have the merge here now. Let me Control S to save it. I think that's the important thing I kind of wanted to do here. I believe that's nothing. I truly believe that's nothing. But let's do one more merge. So yeah, we're using like a open source compositing software, and this one is not going to be as good as Nuke. But yeah, let me just redo it. Now it works. So one more thing for like movie shot, you can add a camera grin. Okay, we don't actually have it here. See, yeah, that's actually the thing. So you can see it does have the settings for different camera grin that different camera have. For now, it's just Coda. I don't know or what that is. Basically, if you're more familiar with the camera, you should be able to know what that is. But I just don't play with real camera shot that much. But you can see what it does. Right? It's basically adding the actual grin that the actual camera have. Okay, so sometimes denoising is fine and all, but maybe you don't need it because the noise is needed to add background anyways. So you add this noise to match with the noise of your actual shot. So yeah, let me pipe the denoise back in and hit the button to turn it on. Actually, that goes to the source. Okay. Now in 40 minutes or so, we just went over a lot of concept here in the compositing stage to bring the image to this level or this result. We can take a look at what we have earlier. So this one, hit 2 button to go there. You can see that's how the 3D render looks like, and that's how it looks like now after compositing. And we can even drag that to like take a look at the different. All right, can see how much more cinematic kind of like feeling we are able to add to this after all the work. Okay, now of course there are other simple things, like how about you can do like hit C button, that's color correct. You can crank up the saturation or lower it down. You can crank up the contrast, right? A lot of things you can do here. Also use color correct eventually, because this one is destructive. It's going to disable some of the, if you crank up the contrast too much, it's going to make something completely black, and that's not going to be able to go back later on when you add new notes. Okay, so that's the difference here. Just to give it some more realism, oftentimes you lower down saturation and crank up contrast. It's going to do that little trick for you. Okay, even come right back. Yeah, all right. So you can see that's before and that's after. Okay, cool. So when you're happy with this, just grab this image, this color correct, hit W to red it out. Okay, so I'm gonna red it here and call it render, final render. Dot. That can be any format now, so JPG should be fine, and save it. Okay. Now it's able to recognize you're going to use JPG, and there's some quality settings, of course. I just hit render here and hit OK. Oh, actually, let me go back here. I'm not going to render frame range from from frame 1 to the last frame. So where is the time range? Okay, let's see. Oh, frame range. Okay, manual, yeah. So I just need 1 frame. Go ahead and render it, and that's when you export it. Okay, so it's finished. Okay, and we can go take a look. Okay, open the folder structure and go there. Oops, that's not where it is. Let's see, node graph here, copy that, paste it in here. Okay. Whoa, that's actually pretty bright. That's not what I want. Let's see, I'm gonna do a shuffle here. Okay, so I think the problem is the alpha channel maybe is wrong. So let's see, maybe this is gonna make it work. So alpha channel is 1 now instead of multiple ones. So this one, you can see the alpha is 18, right? After shuffle, the alpha channel is 1. Okay, so yeah, let me render it one more time. Okay, and open it one more time. You can see now we're getting the result. So alpha channel is actually pretty weird. Like in compositing, alpha can go, or in compositing, everything can go beyond 1. And if that's not set it up properly, eventually it's going to do that bad thing here. All right, cool. So this is going to be the compositing part. I hope that's not too much information, but I really think it's worth mentioning because all the cool things you can do with it. And you can achieve that's just really good results after compositing. And those results are really hard to get from the rendering stage. All right, cool. Thanks for watching. See you next time.